You can have a direct experience of these planetary energies. You don't have to rely on astrologers or interpreters. You can go out and look at Venus and say, Venus, what do you have for me? Like, is there anything I need to know about myself? What you're talking about is anchoring heaven on earth. It's in the Lord's Prayer. On earth as it is in heaven. This is the marriage between heaven and earth that happens in us. And then we get to live it. We get to transmit it. How do you parent your kids? And how do you choose your job? And how do you live your life is, to me, a way that we can tangibly anchor heaven on earth through us.
The container is now open. On this episode, we talk to Amanda Walsh. She's the founder of Astrology Hub. Her new book, Life by the Stars, details her incredible journey from conventional success, living in Manhattan, helping to run a major wireless communications company, to her odyssey out to Hawaii, where everything fell apart and her spirit heard the call, leading to a total transformation. Throughout the memoir, Natasha Alter offers an astrological point of view to the events in the narrative. It's a really compelling literary form. Before we go to that conversation, gotta mention the patrons. They went to patreon.com/thecontainer and they committed to making small monthly donations. And I'm also gotta give a shout out to people who help us in all different ways by rating and reviewing this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and all the people who take the time to like and subscribe on YouTube and leave a comment. One final note, there will not be an episode of The Container next week because Sai and I are getting married. Sai is making an honest man out of me. And now, our conversation with Amanda Walsh on free will, fate, the stars, human life, everything. We recently read Life by the Stars, which is your new memoir, with astrological notes by Natasha Alter, which formed this interesting, it was almost an interesting genre, the like astrological memoir, where we get your life narrative and then there is this other voice that comes in and describes how the stars have presaged what happened or influencing. And I was struck listening to it. Sai and I had a lot of conversations about this, how it really brought up this compelling question. Like, if the stars have some influence or are describing some influence in our lives, how do we balance our free will with fate? How do we live that tension? And then your book sort of is the story of that in a way, but now we have you here in the container, and I'd love to hear more from you on that.
Ooh, it's such a good question, and it's such a question that threads throughout the exploration of astrology pretty constantly, because the more you learn about astrology and the cosmic waves, which is how I think of them. I live on Maui. And so for me, the ocean is just always present. And I think about the energetic waves of the universe very similar, if not identical, to the waves of the ocean. And so when I think about fate and free will, it is this dance, like you said, this tension between what is there, what is even sometimes scripted to a certain extent, and then how we are choosing to engage with it. So for example, if we're using the ocean, a big swell comes in. A surfer's checking the surf report. They know a big swell's coming in. There's decisions to be made. What board do I use? What beach do I go to? Where do I catch the swell? There's so many decisions that are made once we know what the waves are. And so it's no different with the astrology. And knowing what the waves are, for me, just gives us more freedom. It gives us more choice. It gives us more agency. It gives us more empowerment. This is why I am not interested in the least in like prescriptive approaches to astrology where someone is telling you that any outcome is set in stone, because it's just not true. And actually, when we do that, like if you've ever had a reading where someone says to you, this is going to happen, as if there's no choice in it, you know, I don't even want to put some of those things out there because they actually create a lot of harm. And what it does is it condenses the field of possibilities into just one, which we know is out of alignment with the way that reality works. So to me, again, it's not about saying, okay, with that said, and you see in my story that there were certain energetic periods of time that were destined for me. An astrologer can look at those and say, this will be a like existential level period of transformation for this person. Like it will be the kind of change that the person cannot emerge on the other side the same. Now, how I chose to work with that or internalize that or ride that wave was entirely up to me. And that is true for all of us. So again, there's these huge Pluto transits that I was going through that are like once in a lifetime. And actually not even once in a lifetime, because not everybody has them. Like you might not even have this amount of play with Pluto in your personal design ever. But you might. And my guess is people listening to the container are the type of people that are going to have those kinds of deep transformative experiences that are by design. So, from that perspective, there is an element of destiny. There is an element of fate. And for me, I feel like for me, destiny has a different connotation than fate. Fate feels like it's happening to me, whereas destiny feels like something I'm saying yes to and engaging with.
Mm.
And so I think that's an important distinction as well. But so it was written in my chart from the time I was born. Any astrologer could have looked that time period of my life, it would be like, ooh. And any good astrologer would probably say, I wonder what's going to happen then. This looks interesting. Like this configuration of planetary energy is intense, and there's no way that, she's just going to frolic off into la la land. And, it kind of goes to some of the things that come up in the book around my experience of divorce, for example, and versus my vision or my sort of fairy tale dream as a child, which was based on what my parents had. They're going to be celebrating their 60th anniversary. They have been married. They met after 6 months, were married, had 4 children, and are still happily married. So this was my blueprint. This was my template. And I loved my family growing up. It was a great experience. So I wanted to be able to give that to my own children. And this was what I just expected would happen, which I don't want to give too much away, but obviously that didn't happen. And so that stripping away, and also the truth of my chart, which is that I came here to learn through the complexity of relationships. I came here to have challenges around relationships. So it wasn't just going to be the white picket fence and we live happily ever after, and that's the end of the story. It doesn't mean we couldn't have stayed together. We could have. But the way that it worked, and then the outcome of it, that was the material I got to work with. Like that was where I had to consciously decide that I could either let that experience spiral me down or spiral me up. And we're given those kinds of opportunities all day, every day, and at various times in our life. And especially like where humanity is right now, we're in like this collective opportunity to choose. And so I hope that answers your question about fate and free will, and maybe it brings up
Mhm.
other questions, but it's an amazing question, and I love being with that question.
Yeah, it has me think about, the phrase free will, and then of course about choice and the ways in which um well, you could break choice down into even further categories of like kind of the this is happening to me, and now I'm just like, here's, so I'm kind of routed, and here's my only choice now. Or the more high conscious choices, which has me think about the idea of surrender, or
Mm.
like the conscious choice to surrender to the unfolding, which then sort of brings you back to destiny. So that's just what's coming up for me, is
Yeah.
is that there's this conscious act of surrendering to the constant unfolding of life, um and that is actually maybe an act of free will. I don't know.
Yes, well,
Mm.
it
Yeah.
is. It is. You can fight it, you can surrender to it. It brings up something that I'd like to really mention here, though. So let's take any transit. Let's take a Pluto transit or a Saturn transit. Let's take any zodiac sign. Let's take my sun sign of Capricorn or a Libra or Scorpio. There is there is a scale of expressions for all of the energies. There is a less conscious or less mature, or I like to even call it less experienced from a soul level perspective, expression of every single archetypal energy. And then there is a more experienced, more mature, more conscious, whatever you want to call it. You can actually you can actually look at each of the planets and signs and map that. And when you do that, it then again gives you so much more choice. So when you say surrender, surrender might be the exact thing that would be a higher, I like to think of them in octaves, right? Like if we're talking about music, a C is a C is a C, but a C played down here versus a C played up here sounds really different and creates a very different experience of listening. So if we're talking about a higher octave of Neptune, for example, Neptune is surrender. Like Neptune is like, I am one with the ocean. I am actually the ocean. I am one with all. And so if you're going through a a difficult time and Neptune is in a key position in this configuration of energies, that might be the invitation of that moment. That might be what that moment is asking of you.
Mhm.
But if it's Saturn, Saturn is sitting there going, "No, you got to do the work. You got to show up. You need discipline. You know, so it can't be a one size fits all. Like we just surrender, right? Like sometimes surrender is absolutely appropriate and absolutely what's asked for, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's roll up your sleeves, get gritty and do the freaking work.
Mm.
So, this is why knowing, to me, knowing what what is happening in your personal chart. Okay, first you start with the natal chart. What is your blueprint? What is that snapshot, that screenshot of the sky at the moment of your first breath that is imprinted within you and living and breathing through you? Okay, so that's the starting point. But then from that moment on, the planets continue to move. So that's what creates transits. They're transitory. They come and they activate parts of our chart as we have our life experience. And so at different times, different things are highlighted and we can lean into that. You know, this is where the choice comes in. We can it maybe the swell is is big and we want to bring our short board. Maybe it's smaller waves and we need to bring a long board. But there's no just bring this one board. Like because it's different. So this is where it's like actually before I was even into astrology, when I started to have my like awakening moments, I was reading a lot of spiritual books, right? Like Wayne Dyer and Ram Dass and Marianne Williamson, all the like kind of classics that most of us read when we're going through those awakening moments. And they were amazing. Totally opened my eyes, totally opened my heart. But they were one size fits all. And so I remember, I don't know which author, but one of them was talking about ambition and how we need to let go of all ambition and we need to just, and I was like, and I'm a Capricorn. I'm a 29-degree Capricorn, Sun and Venus. And I'm going, and I don't even know this yet. I don't even know what Capricorn means, but I'm going, oh, okay. I need to surrender all ambition. It feels really hard. And also, like, ambition has made me who I am on some level. Like, I don't even know how to do that. But you don't tell a Capricorn to surrender all ambition. Like, yes, have it come from the right place. Yes, have it aligned with your purpose. Yes, make it not totally about external rewards. But like, let it go. Like, that's never going to happen, right? So there's this, again, it's like it's this combination of understanding our own wiring and then working with that at the highest octave that we possibly can from the level of consciousness that we're at. And for me, the hugest part of that is the awareness. Like, you need to know in the first place what it is, so then you can engage and choose. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So much sense.
It really resonates with something I was struck by in your book. You begin your adult life on this track kind of straight towards conventional success as defined by basically every ad and television show in
Yes.
modern America.
Yeah.
And that all is driven by incredible forms of Capricorn energy. Like,
Yes.
there's a way that must have really shown up for you. And then it's so wonderful that it's like your Saturn return time. So I guess just for the listeners, Saturn rules Capricorn. Then it all starts to go away. It like starts to break up and fall apart, and then opens up this new part of your life where the Capricorn energy and ambition is able to return, but now you're building something like Astrology Hub and like, offering all of this education and all of these tools and stuff to people that are about like the spiritual path. So it just struck me the way that the details of your life really are like a great just example of this thing we're just talking about, these octaves and how energy can look so, it can have such different expressions, but is so united too. And I think that is like one of the hard parts. I think when people listen to astrology stuff and they haven't bought in yet and they're skeptical, I think that's one of the limitations they have, is like, well, wait, how can Saturn be this and that? Or how can Capricorn do that and this? And
Mm.
yeah, but as I'm sitting here feeling into what you're saying, it's like on a story level, it makes so much sense. Yeah.
We're doing this living. So the book is Life by the Stars. And I really wanted to give people an experience of it. Like, so they could almost be on the journey with me from Manhattan to the big island of Hawaii and Pele's fire and all the burning away of identity that happened there, and then move with me to Maui and experience another round of breakdowns, but then find astrology and find meaning and purpose and direction in the stars. So I created this like virtual book club thing that we're in the middle of, and it's the Living by the Stars experience. And last week, I really focused on this octave thing because it illustrates very clearly exactly what we're talking about and exactly the question you had. Well, how could Capricorn be this and that? And how can Saturn initiate this and that? I mean, once you understand archetypes and you understand energy, you can feel this. But before that, and I totally understand because I was there before that, I just want to give a couple examples because there's some really tangible examples in the story of the book that illustrate this same person, same blueprint, two very different expressions and then two very different manifestations. So the first one is the fact that in New York City, when I was building that empire there, I was running a wireless technology consulting company. Wireless technology. We all believe in wireless technology because we use it and it works. We're on wireless technology right now. But what is it? It's an invisible field of communication. Okay? What is astrology? I'm still in the wireless communication business. I literally am still in the same business. It is invisible communication. It is invisible technology that is present and we have access to. Okay, that's just one example. Another example, my birth experiences. So I explained two very different versions of birth. I have two daughters. They're now 17 and 14. My first daughter, I was totally bought into the system at the time. I thought, why would you experience pain in childbirth if you don't have to? I'm going to leverage all of the modern medicine, go have a pain-free birth with an epidural. The doctors will take care of it. Totally went in with avoidance, went in with fear. I didn't want to feel the pain. My God, why? Why would you want to do that? Control, there was all these things that were driving my decision to just give my agency and my power completely over. It was not a great experience at all. It was very traumatizing. I walked out feeling entirely disempowered, very unconfident in my ability to be a mother. I felt like a failure from the very beginning. I mean, it was a big deal for me. And to this day, I call her my great awakener because that birth experience was the very first tipping point that started my whole awakening process. So thank God Madeline came in that way. Then with the second birth, I'm in a different frequency. I'm coming from a different place. I'm at a different level of consciousness. I choose a home birth, a water birth on an island I just moved to where I don't know anybody. I end up being surrounded by these angels of women, doula, midwife, the whole thing. I have an existential experience of birth that is literally one of my, when I think of a rite of passage or an initiation I've been through, this one is the biggest of all, is the biggest of all time for me. So empowering, so magical, so expansive. Same thing, birth. The archetype or energy of birth experienced from two different frequencies. Finally, I have to throw this one in because it's just crazy. You guys might remember in the book, I talk about it's the trajectory where I was sitting in a windowsill in Manhattan, feeling like I was at a crossroads. And I had this waking vision. And I saw myself at a fork in a road. And in the first road that I could choose to go down was basically the one I was on. And I saw myself at the end of that road as the Queen of Hearts. I was this cartoonish caricature. At the time, I had a very short, dark bob. I had a little dumb crown on my head. I was overweight, lavishly adorned, had everything I wanted in front of me, people darting around doing everything I wanted. And in this vision, my daughter, who was 2 at the time, walks in the room. She's like 22, probably. Gorgeous, perfectly dressed, and cold as ice. Looks at me with hatred in her eyes. There's this massive chasm between us, all the words unsaid, all of the distance just palpable. Okay, so that was one road. On the other road, it's like this beautiful winding road. I cannot see the end. There's grass on either side. There's a rainbow going above. There's butterflies darting around. And in that vision, I'm holding hands with Madeline, and we are dancing down the road. We are in white flowy dresses, just dancing down this road. You won't believe this. This is where the cosmos is always like winking at us. The universe is always playing with us, and we get to choose to engage. We get to say, yes, I'm in. Like, I want to play with you back. Just last week, my daughter Madeline, now 17, a gorgeous dancer, hula, ballet, she performs Alice in Wonderland as the Queen of Hearts. No joke. And she is delightful. Oh my God. She's full of humor and wit and gorgeous. She's a Libra. She's so artistic and beautiful and everything's harmonious. And I was just like, are you kidding me? First of all, that it's not like that ballet studio does Alice in Wonderland every year. They haven't done it probably for 20 years. So at the time I'm releasing my book, my daughter, it was just like it was this exclamation point of like, yes, you made the right choice. I know it was hard. I know there was a lot of suffering in that choice, but wow, it has really paid off. And we are so close and we love, it's just, so this is what I'm saying. Same chart. I'm the same person. I have chosen, sometimes I've been forced, but chosen to engage with my chart to hopefully experience in this lifetime the highest expression of what it could be. But it could look really different. I could have chose to tangle with the lower energies my whole entire life. And some of us do. And in many lifetimes I probably have. But for whatever reason, this lifetime, I'm like, no, I came to play. Let's go. And again, I'm thinking many of the people in your audience feel the same way.
That story brought tears to my eyes. And so much what you're saying just resonates so deeply on a very personal level. I have 2 children, very different birth experiences.
Yeah.
And to this octave topic, and it's very deeply related to me starting to understand my astrology. I have a lot of Leo, like a lot of Leo placements. Sun, Moon, Mercury, North Node, like it's a lot of Leo. But around this time, or around August last year, I got a reading that was really focused on my rising, which is Libra. And then I realized, oh, I actually have as much air as I have fire in my chart. And I had never known that about myself. But just learning about that actually, like, I could say completely changed my life. I had been a teacher for 8 years of middle school students, and it was rewarding, but it wasn't like life-changing, deep calling path type of career for me.
Yes.
Especially with the way the education system has changed so much.
Yes.
And I got this sort of download, and then all of these, external pieces of evidence that actually what my path is, it's still being a guide, but rather than guiding children, my path is to guide people to transition from this life and to become a death doula. And so I've been diving deep into that work, and and I swear it's like there's something about adding that air to the fire that was like, that's why I'm here. I didn't have the tools or the capacity to hold such depth, until we started this practice of circling and the podcast and et cetera and so forth. But it's, who would have thought that the higher octave of teacher was death doula, but here we are.
You know what? Okay, so this is so amazing. So what you bring in, I see this all the time, and it happens in a lot of different ways. But you got the piece of information you needed about your chart when you needed it and when you could hold it. And this is what happens because it's this ever unfolding, deepening into the energy of who we are. And at first, you might only understand one aspect of your chart, and that's okay. That's what you need to understand in that moment. And eventually, as time goes on and as you have more capacity to hold more aspects of who you are, the information will come. I've had even people who thought their birth time was one time. And so they thought they had one chart. And they were living the archetype of that chart. But then they found out they had a different birth time, and it was like, oh God, what do I do with this? I'm not even who I thought I was. But to me, it's like, that's perfect. That served you then. This is going to serve you now. Lean into it. Integrate what you were experiencing about yourself from before. It doesn't erase all that. You still have a lot of fire. But now you have this air, you have this oxygen, you can breathe. You're not just getting burned by all the fire, you can breathe. And that maybe opened you up to this other way of serving and teaching and guiding. And what I love about, first of all, death doula is incredible. Like, thank you for doing that. I cannot thank, I mean, birth doula and death doula, how important, how necessary for people to have someone facilitating these huge transitions. Like, it doesn't get any more important than that. So, first of all, thank you for doing it. And it's interesting for me because I have a lot of people in my audience. I don't know if it's because when we're in our 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, we have more time. That's one reason, but also maybe that question of like, have I actually lived the life I came here to live? And maybe astrology has some keys for me. What I was going to say is a lot of my audience can be older. There will be also they were interested in astrology when they were younger. Now they're retired and they have time, so they can ignite this hobby and this love. But one question that's coming in a lot, especially around this book, is I want to know, like, if there's something in this last chapter that I need to do before I exit this incarnation, I want to know what that is and I want to live it. So I think it's a beautiful combination, actually, astrology and death doula, because
Yeah.
there can be a lot of confirmation. Like, I look at my mom's chart and I'm like, oh my God, mom, nailed it. You freaking you did exactly what you came here to do. It's uncanny, you know? So I think, and she does, she has that level of peace and fulfillment in her life. She was a stay-at-home mom. She ran our house. She poured everything into the children, into the grandchildren. That's what she came here to do. And it's so clear from her chart. Despite society's expectations, or, because she was being a stay-at-home mom at like the height of feminism, where women would be like, what do you do all day? Like, why don't you have a career? And don't you feel unfulfilled? So she had to deal with that kind of thing, but she was like, no, this is what I love to do. I love to be a mom.
Yeah.
That's what she came here to do, for sure.
Something I'm so struck by talking about astrology is the way that it mythically connects the most magnificent view, I think, for my money, the most magnificent view you can have incarnate on this earth is of the night sky with the stars. I mean, come on. I mean, and you might get a little jaded, but tonight, if you're listening to this, go check out the stars. It's incredible. Um, and it connects that view to these kinds of conversations we're having about, like, why am I here? Um, why am I reacting emotionally to this in this way? Like, it's so cozied up into the most everyday, where you live kind of stuff. Your kids and your job, and yeah, like everything is there, but it's all connected to the most wondrous, awe-inspiring, direct experience you can pretty much have on Earth. And that all is so, I'm just getting tingles thinking about it. And then there's this mystery where I think because of the time I was born, it's like parts of me want it to be a science where, like, well, it's doing this because Pluto's there, so Pluto must be shooting some kind of ray at the Earth or something. But then there's this mystery, like you were saying about, like your chart. I remember when I was changed house systems, and it's like the house system worked for me,
Yeah.
and then when my chart changed because of that, it's like now this works for me.
Yeah.
Like, or
Oh,
like you're saying, getting at, learning you or have the wrong birth time, and then it's like, oh, but both charts worked when you had them.
yeah.
So there's something more magical afoot, I feel. I don't know I want to hear from you, like, yeah, your view of it.
I mean, we can find the divine in tea leaves. We can find the divine everywhere. And so, I mean, part of what I'm thinking about when you're talking about is it kind of is that Pluto's sending down a ray. I mean, honestly, so
Mhm.
there is science in this. And this is where astronomy and astrology used to be married. They used to be one and the same. And so the understanding of the mechanics, I think, is important. And the way that I think about it is just like radio frequency. And we can tune into channels. And there's certain channels already within us. Okay, in the body there's hormone receptors. And those are like, they're just waiting to receive the specific hormone, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, whatever it is. It's like a lock and key, right? And when they receive it, they go into the body and it's funneling around the body. And I know this is total lay person's understanding of how that all works, but it is a mechanism, right? Similarly, and I don't know why when you took that first breath, why is that imprint of that first breath, the time, location, why is that the thing that kind of codes us to receive certain frequencies? I don't know. We have to ask God on that one. I really don't know. But you have this wiring, and you are able and capable to receive the certain frequencies streaming from the planetary beings at certain times in your life. They get activated, they get triggered. And it's a combination of light, it's a combination of sound, it's a combination of frequency and electromagnetic fields. It's all these things interacting. And so I get what you're saying. Like, you want it to be, oh, this plus this equals this. But nothing in life is that. It really isn't. Even when we try to make it that, it's just really not. So it is more nuanced. It is more complex, and it's a way of organizing reality. The word cosmos. Cosmos means, like, when you break it down, order and beauty in the same word. Order and beauty. So I just think of it as like God's architecture, God's structuring of reality. And I'm trying to think, going outside under the sky. I mean, 100%. I mean, one of the reasons why we are disconnected from astrology, which, by the way, has been around long before Jesus Christ, has been around for so long. This is not new age. I had the same stereotype before I really understood what it was. So I understand when people think it's kind of woo-woo or ungrounded, but it has been around for a long time, and people used to engage with the sky every single night. They used to have a direct relationship, and I really encourage people to do that. Like, go. Venus and Jupiter have been epic in the sky lately because they've been in this conjunction. And last night they were with the crescent moon, and it was like, oh my God, this like celestial event. I love this astrologer Gemini Brett calls it the original motion picture. The sky is the original motion picture. But you can have a direct experience of these planetary energies. You don't have to rely on astrologers or interpreters. You can go out and look at Venus and say, Venus, what do you have for me? Like, is there anything I need to know about myself? Is there anything that you can do that with every single one of them? And the ones that you can see, it's a little bit easier. But, Pluto, it's harder we can't see some of the outer planets, but they're there. So if you know where they're approximately in the sky, that can help too. What you're talking about is anchoring heaven on earth. It is literally on earth as it is in heaven. It's in the Lord's Prayer, on earth as it is in heaven. That this is the marriage between heaven and earth that happens in us. We are the ones who bring the celestial realms, the broadcast from the music of the spheres. We are the receivers of that. And then we get to live it. We get to transmit it. And so what you were talking about when you were like, gosh, this is like the most awe-inspiring heavens above, with like, how do you parent your kids? And how do you choose your job? And how do you live your life? That to me is the entire point of the whole thing. Like, that is 100% my like deepest why. This is to me a way that we can tangibly anchor heaven on earth through us.
That's such a beautiful message. Wow. It has me it's interesting that now I'm like, well, what are the pitfalls? Where are the pitfalls?
Yeah.
The idea, because I have met people and it's almost like you can't get to know them because they only speak of themselves through their chart. There
I
are
know what
people,
you're talking about.
it
Yes, I
does
do.
Yeah.
happen where it's like, well, I'm like this because of this, or the reason that this is because of this. And it's like, but who are you though?
Yeah.
And I imagine that there's a way that, it's like with anything, over relying or
Oh,
over applying.
100%.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've even found myself falling into it where even with the book launch, there was a moment where I was paralyzed because I wanted to find the right date to launch the book. And it just,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and so finally I said, you know what? Enough. Like I am done. I'm not going to try to micromanage this. I'm going to let her, the book, this baby, tell me when she wants to be born. I am not going to schedule the C-section. Like that just, and that is basically equivalent of what I was trying to do, right? So yes, and it can become a way that we try to control reality. It can become a way that we pigeonhole ourselves. It can be, but that to me is a less mature use of astrology. Like there is a more mature use of astrology and a less mature, and sometimes we just have to go deep into one way to like claw ourselves back and be like, oh, that was a little too far. Like me, like I just did. You would think I might be a little more mature to be like, I probably shouldn't do this. But it just felt like such a big deal. I'm launching a book. This is my first book. It feels important. I should probably choose a date. And then I just let it go. And then it just ended up being what it is. And I don't get to dictate why it was the way it is, and I don't have the foresight to know why it needed to be that certain configuration of energies, so I had to let it go. And that was a time where surrender was absolutely appropriate. And I knew that because I was driving myself crazy. Like literally, I was annoyed with myself even talking about it. I didn't have joy anymore. I didn't have there was no it just it became convoluted and not pure. So to me that's a really good sign that we've gone a little too far. And I hear what you're saying. There's like you can use it to excuse behaviors. You can use it to just put up with things forever that probably you need to create some boundaries around. And I can't give a prescription for that. I would just say like if you feel like you're entirely in your head about it, that's a good sign that some integration needs to happen and some like actual embodiment and silence with it and holding it and meditating with it. If it's paralyzing you, just like it's gone too far, like pull it back. I've had some people say I need to take a break from like even listening to some of the forecasty stuff because I just started to get anxious. And that's fine. Just take a break. You don't have, it's not like you have to be tuned in. It's happening whether or not you're aware. So you can play with that and have times where you're not aware. And how does that feel? Does that feel better or worse? And I think this would be individual. But yes, there are pitfalls. And then there's pitfalls, and then there's unethical use, and there's harm. So with great power comes great responsibility. And this is one of the reasons why I at one point I tried to launch a reading service through Astrology Hub where the astrologers were vetted through us and I could like give my stamp of approval that they were going to use astrology in an empowering and loving way. We created this huge technology platform for it that became way too heavy. So now we just have astrologers that we refer. Like that you can go to astrologyhub.com/connect, find the astrologers that we know and love. And because I have heard from way too many people, I had a reading, they told me this thing, it's it's haunted me ever since. And I'm like, oh, that is because my first reading totally expanded me. Like it put me on this path that I'm still living today. So I know what a good reading can do and I know what a bad reading can do. And so who you listen to about astrology is really important. Just making sure that if it starts to feel fearful or deterministic, like I would say just leave. just shut down the reading. Just don't let yourself absorb that. But before it even gets there, really choose with discernment, really choose carefully. And do you resonate with this person? Do you resonate with their life view? Can you feel their heart? Because you could be a great technical astrologer and very intelligent and very cerebral and very disconnected from the heart. I've seen that.
Mhm.
So, you know, it's again, it's nuanced. I wish I could give you just a straight answer, but yeah,
I
it's good to
love
be
it.
aware of all that though.
It reminds me of I think a lot of psychological terms have become popular just in the last 10 years. Uh, like attachment theory and
Mhm.
various different parts therapy and all these
Mhm.
different things have kind of entered um the lexicon. And then there's sort of, when there's a fixed mindset related to them, it's like I am this,
Yeah.
and then that becomes this limiting factor to growth, or
Yeah.
that's how I'm feeling it. And it has me, I wonder, people listening to this, um if you aren't really up on astrology, like maybe all you've really done is looked up your sun sign horoscope
Mhm.
in the back of a magazine or something. I
Mhm.
guess people haven't done that for many years, but
Online, whatever. Yeah.
online.
Yeah.
If you look at your chart, I remember looking at an astrology chart the first time and just being like, okay, cool.
Right.
Like that, very helpful. There's lines and various shapes and colors, and I guess I know more now.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, so I'm curious, it can be intimidating.
Yes.
Uh, and I wonder if this conversation is getting people into that place where they're like, I've been wondering, and maybe I'm ready to actually get in the water.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, how would you invite them in to the water?
Mm. So many ways, but I know you're looking for something more clear. Mm.
Mm,
I'll explain what really worked for me, and then there's a few other options from there. But one of the easiest entry points to beginning to understand the energies themselves is with the lunar cycle. Because if you so and I'll tell a little backstory. I was just starting to get into astrology. I wanted to learn more. I joined this women's circle, and we met at every new moon around a campfire under the stars on the mountain Haleakala here on Maui. And if the new moon was in Leo, we would talk a little bit about the energy of Leo. So what is Leo? Leo's a lion. What's a lion? It's royal. It's a leader. It's charismatic. It's strong. It's it's not like super hyper. It's like this quiet strength, right? It's the king of the jungle. It's all these things. And it's ruled by the sun. What are the qualities of the sun? The sun is warm. It's radiating. It's life-giving. It's generous in that. It represents the heart, right? So does the lion, courage, heart. Okay. So we would talk about the archetype, the energy of Leo. Then for the next 2 weeks until the full moon, we would walk with that energy. Okay.
Mm.
What does it feel like to walk like a lion? What does it feel like to radiate like the sun? Where am I blocking that? Where is that scary? Why is that scary? All these, like, really just feeling the energies in the body, which to me is the thing that has made it so I never had to like memorize keywords. Like, because once you feel Leo, it's easy to feel Leo. And it's easy to feel both where the shadow element of Leo might come in and where the more mature expression of Leo might come in, right? If you're the sun, it could be me, 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 like just only pay attention to me. Look, I'm the sun, I'm so radiant, like, right? Or it could be the sun shining to give life, the sun shining to, because it radiates from the heart and it's so generous in that radiance, right? Those are two really different feelings, but still Leo. So that is one really easy way. So just track the lunar cycle. What zodiac sign is that lunar cycle falling in? Is it a new moon in Leo? You can go Google that. Is it a new moon in Libra? You can Google that. What are the elements of Libra? Like Libra is all about balance and harmony. Okay, well, where does balance and harmony come in? Oh, it comes in art. It comes in artistic expression. It comes in litigation. It comes in the courtroom. It comes in the classroom when you're trying to mitigate between, so you can start to feel those. And then that's a really great way to start to learn about the energies themselves. You can do the same thing with Saturn. You can do the same thing with the planets, Pluto and Mars and Mercury and all of it. And using the tangible anchor of the lunar cycle, I find is very helpful for people because it cycles through all the zodiac signs. It does it in a rhythm that's easy to digest. You have a whole month to walk with that energy. You have a whole month to journal around it. You have a whole month to like see where it wants to show up in your life. How natural is it for you? How unnatural is it for you? Right? Because some zodiac signs, it's like, oh yeah, I got that. Like that's easy. Like that's who I am. And other ones feel a little more distant. So that could be something where it's opposing your sun. Maybe for me, I'm a Capricorn, so Cancer is opposing. When I learn, like Cancer can feel like a foreign energy to me sometimes. I'm like, I don't know as many Cancers. It's not as present in my life. It's like, oh, how interesting. Okay, well, what do I need to know about that? Because personally, I feel it's very important for us to learn about our charts and to start there and to start with these basic elements. But eventually, I think it's about understanding all of them and truly being able to evoke or elicit the energies that you need in any given moment. So if you need more fire in your life, if you need more direction, if you need more focus, call upon the energy of Mars. Call upon it. Bring it into your life. Call upon the energy of Aries. You know what I'm saying? So okay, so that's one way if someone wants to just do it. I mean, you can start tuning into astrology podcasts. You could tune into the Astrology Hub podcast if you want.
Mhm.
Tons of options there. And then if you get serious and you want to be a student, then I would start with the foundations. We have an amazing suite of foundations classes taught by Rick Levine, who is a true wizard master astrologer. I mean, to me, sitting at the feet of Rick Levine is like having the opportunity to sit at the feet of Socrates. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like in that
He's
time.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that like it's like he's this living, breathing master of astrology and also so sweet and dear. Like he is so also in his heart. So he has all of it to me. And we have an amazing foundations whole suite of classes with Rick. Um, so working with the lunar cycle, it's just take one or two aspects of your chart. Go get a free chart. We have them on our site. You can get them all over the place. Get a free chart. Just dive deep into one element of it. And that could be going to Chat GPT, or going to Google or whatever. That could be asking it. So when you looked at your
Mm.
chart and you saw the squiggles and the lines and the symbols, you're like, okay, I have no idea what this means. I can totally relate. That was my exact same experience. I was like, okay. I mean, it's another language, right? At the time, I wouldn't have known to do this, but now I would say you can actually like meditate on these placements. You
Yeah.
could look at your sun. You could look at the fact, let's say you look at your chart and you're like, "Oh wow, everything's down here. Like everything's down at this bottom of the like what does that mean?" And then you could literally go into contemplation on that. And I would venture to say you're going to get some amazing answers in that contemplation, in that meditation. And then go check it. Like see if you were right on. But I really encourage people to own it as much as they can. And you've heard me say this, but in their bodies. Because again, this is another pitfall I see is people just get so cerebral and so out there that is disconnected from the way they're living their life. It's a theory, it's a philosophy, it's very titillating for the mind, and it is. But we can also get stuck there. So bring it back in and live it as much as possible.
Yeah, I love the way, especially the lunar cycle um uh method that you just described that you did. It just invites this contemplation. And for me, contemplation has been one of the most, like, just the hugest ways of growth, and embodying and like really feeling something, and just holding a word
Yes.
for 2 weeks, even
Yes.
if it's just the word, even if you don't know what the word means,
Totally.
it
Yes.
changes it's wild. You'll
Yes.
start hearing it, and then you'll start feeling it, and you're like, what?
I know.
Yeah, it's contemplation is just, and especially walking. I love that what you said, the walk
Mhm.
with it.
You walk with it.
Like,
Yes.
I love this idea of kind of adding movement to this holding. It's like you're not actually thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's so different from thinking with your mind about it. It's like you're thinking about it with your heart, I guess, is kind of what contemplation is.
Yeah. I mean, even with the lion thing, like I would literally practice walking like a lion. And so
That's awesome.
I can call on that now. Like if I'm entering a room where I'm nervous or I feel anxious, or it's like, okay, like activate that inner lion. How would the lion walk into this room?
Yeah.
Cool,
Mm.
calm, confident, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
That really has me connected to interesting astrological magic I've never done, but if you really had that kind of embodied contact, and then you realize I'm going to need strong Leo energy
Yes.
tonight, and
Yes.
then you can check, okay, what's going on in Leo, and then you can like embody it, and then it's
Totally.
like I'm like making contact with Leo rather than just Leo is a spot in the sky that you can do a
Yes.
forecast with. It's like it's an entity, something like an entity. It's a,
Yes.
yeah, like
Energetic
a
field.
level of being that you can,
Yes,
yeah,
an
right.
energetic field that you're tapping into and pulling into your reality, or activating within you is more accurate because it's already there, right? But yeah, I mean, this is
Mm.
sometimes in the gym, I'll be like, okay, Mars, let's go. Like, I'm tired. I don't feel good. I don't even want to be here. Like, give me some of your energy. Like, I need your energy, you know? So it's really it's fun. It's playful. And again, to me, it's anchoring the celestial realms here in our bodies.
Mm.
And it works.
And it works. And it works. It does because again, we live in an archetypal universe. I don't know why that either, but there's these like archetypal stories that just exist. We resonate with them. We see ourselves in them. You know, it's the hero's journey, or there's a ton of archetypal stories that that just are, and there are these fields of information, fields of energy, fields of resonance, and they are alive in us. So we can live, we can we can pull them out, we can live the stories, we can rewrite the stories. So I in the book I was talking at one point about Juno, who is Zeus's wife. And I was going through a divorce and I was having a lot of resentment. And I heard the story of Juno on the local radio station, which was crazy. Like, why is the story of Juno being played on the local radio station to begin with? I don't even listen to local radio ever. And I just happened to tune in right then, right? That's another one of those winks. And they were telling the story about how Zeus's wife, Juno, hated that Zeus had all these affairs with everybody. But she always forgave him, but she never forgave the women. And she made the women's life hell. And I went, that was just like hit, right? Because I was like, I'm doing that on some level. I mean, on a much more human level, but I'm doing that. And how tired is that story? How old is that story? Like, that story sucks. And it has kept women separated and competing and jealous and manipulative forever. Like, do I want to contribute to that story, that archetypal story? And I was like, no, actually, I don't. And the only way to rewrite that story is for someone in that story to do something different. So this is where my forgiveness like practice came in, and all the things that I did to forgive the entire situation that I was in at the time. So we're not like victim to those stories either. And even the planetary energies, I have experienced that They want our participation as much as we are experiencing their participation. So, for example, in 2020, when everything was happening on this planet with COVID and the lockdowns and everything, before that even happened, Rick Levine had said, the biggest thing that's going to happen in 2020 before we knew the storyline is collective global fear. There is going to be a wave of fear. And so I remember one time, and Saturn was a huge player in all the astrology of 2020, 2021. And Saturn can represent fear because it's the outer limit of it's the outer planet that we can see with our eyes. And it represents the boundary between like the physical reality and what's beyond the physical reality. And so it's fear, limitation, karma, time, like all these like very tangible things. So I asked Saturn, I said, Saturn, what do you want me to know about fear? And I heard so clearly, I am here teaching you all about fear, not so you will stay in fear, but so that you understand the mechanism of fear and so that you can see how fear serves to paralyze, disconnect, separate, freeze you in your tracks. So this he is here for you to see it, experience it, transcend it. And I went, whoa, that's awesome. Like he was like, I'm not here to be this big scary monster. Like you're not supposed to just fear me. You're supposed to learn about fear through me. Not
Right.
so you're stuck there. And I was like, oh my God, that's so amazing. But again, it's this dialogue that we can enter. But it helped that I knew something about Saturn to be able to ask the question, but I didn't have to know much to ask the question and then have that insight, which I've been able to carry with me for years, right? Because I got to see, I looked around, I was like, oh yeah, everybody's afraid for many, many reasons. There's all kinds of fear on all kinds of sides. And what is it doing? Oh my God, it's separating families and friends and the world. Like, whoa, that's some potent drug right there, right? So that was, my point is that we really can be in a very active dialogue with the universe itself. Universe, just the word universe. You can contemplate that forever. One song, universe, one song. And we each have our own music, our musical notes, which is our chart. We're contributing our song to the like grand symphony of the universe. It's so beautiful. And what you were talking about earlier about the stars and how it's such a wondrous sight. And why we look up in awe and just wonder. We are them. We literally are the stars. We are made exactly of the same material as the stars. An astrophysicist, Carl Sagan, like not even an astrologer, like a literal legit scientist, was like, every single bone, every single mineral, every single aspect of our body is made of star stuff. 100%. So we are them. We're their representatives on the earth.
Yeah, that has me imagining people listening will want to get more of Amanda Walsh and your astrology empire that you've built.
You mean my wireless
Your
communication
wireless
empire? Yes.
communication empire,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Yes.
So, where can they get your book, Life by the Stars? And then if they're interested in listening to Astrology Hub podcast or getting your courses and plug.
Okay. This is so nice. Thank you. Well, right now, the best way to get the book would be to go to lifebythestars.com. And when you go there, you can either buy from Amazon or major retailers, or you can buy directly through Astrology Hub. And when you buy through Astrology Hub, you'll get the best pricing on the book. Plus, you will get a signed book and you'll get a companion journal. and that has like journal prompts and things for each part of the book, and you'll get a bookmark. And or you can go to Amazon, or you can go to Audible, or you can, like, if you're an audio person like me, we have the audiobook, and I read it, and then the astrologer Natasha Alter contributed her astrologer's notes in her voice. And then, if you're like, I just want to start learning, you can go to astrologyhub.com. And astrologyhub.com, you will find our academy of courses. We have the largest digital library of astrology classes in the world, from tons of different amazing teachers on pretty much every topic in astrology you would want to do a deep dive on. You can go to our academy. We also have a membership, our Inner Circle membership, which is a great way to do kind of the more embodied astrology that I'm talking about. Every new moon, we have a new moon ceremony. We do the thing that I learned how to do together, and just spiral around the lunar cycle together. You learn from a different master astrologer each month. So you learn technique, you learn chart reading. That's available as well. And the Astrology Hub podcast, which is on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcasts. That's another great place to go. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all of your work, Amanda, and thank you for coming on The Container.
Sai and Jonathan, you are lovely and delightful. This has been so much fun. I feel like we need to hang out in person someday, and I'm just really grateful for this connection. Thank you for reaching out.
Can you take us out?
The container is now closed.